The man I kept on the side ran off with my money. My heart hurt so much. Sitting in the carriage with my mother-in-law on our way to the temple to pray for a child. I don't even dare to cry out loud. When I was little, I had to hide things from my parents. Now that I'm grown, I have to hide things from my mother-in-law. When will I ever be as free as a man without being forced by others to have children?
You've been married into our family for over half a year now. Even a hen would have hatched several broods by now. Why is there still no movement in your belly? You useless waste. If you don't get pregnant soon, I don't think you need to be the princess consort anymore.
I really wanted to tell her that it wasn't because I was useless. It was actually because your son, not me. Half a year ago, on our wedding night, I waited and waited until the dead of night, but Xiao Heng never came. I had no choice but to take off my bridal veil myself and go out to look for him. As a result, I discovered that behind a rockery, Xiao Heng was holding a delicate-looking guard, pouring his heart out.
Don't worry to me, she is just an ornament. I won't touch her. My body and my heart will always belong to you alone.
The young guard's eyes welled up with tears of emotion.
Hang Lang.
Shan.
They embraced. The scene was so nauseating, it went straight from my eyes to the back of my throat. I couldn't help but gag, which successfully alerted them.
Who is there?
My heart instantly leaped into my throat. Instinctively, I tilted my head. A sword flew past, grazing my cheek, leaving behind a streak of blood. Xiao Heng shielded the young guard behind him, staring at me with ice-cold eyes.
It is you? What did you see?
Having just narrowly escaped death, I broke out in a cold sweat. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Xiao Heng, however, was very satisfied.
Very well. It is good that you know to play deaf and dumb. As long as you know how to keep your mouth shut, you will remain the princess consort.
With that, he and the young guard, hand in hand, went elsewhere to continue their sweet moments, leaving me standing there with a face covered in blood. When His Majesty first betrothed me to Xiao Heng, I indeed had a heart full of hope and anticipation. Who in the capital didn't know Prince Jing, Xiao Heng? He was handsome, elegant, and of extraordinary bearing. At such a young age, he already held military power. What was even more rare was that his inner court was clean. He didn't even have a single maidservant by his side. He was considered the most perfect candidate for a husband. After His Majesty decreed the marriage, I don't know how many jealous glares I received from the noble ladies in the capital. None of them could understand why Xiao Heng chose me, a plain-looking and honest girl from an ordinary family, to be his princess consort. The question they couldn't figure out finally had an answer. The moment I stumbled upon Xiao Heng's secret affair, Xiao Heng wasn't marrying a wife. He was marrying an honest, obedient, human ornament to help him cover up his secret. Sure enough, from then on, I didn't get to say a single word to Xiao Heng for several months. On the surface, he came to my courtyard every night. But in reality, the moment he stepped in, he would slip out through the side door to reunite with his young guard at a residence outside the estate. He merely used my place as a passageway. However, in the eyes of the old Princess Dowager, it looked like I was receiving his favor every night. Yet my belly showed no signs of movement. The old Princess Dowager was very angry, and the consequence was that imperial physicians came in shifts. All kinds of tonic soups and medicines became my main meals. In just 1 month, I was tormented to the point of almost losing my appetite entirely. Meanwhile, Xiao Heng's complexion grew more and more radiant, his whole body radiating the sweet scent of being in love. I tried to corner him several times, and finally caught him red-handed on New Year's Eve. Xiao Heng was in a hurry to leave the estate to accompany his young guard, his face full of impatience.
What is it?
I have not been able to conceive, and my mother-in-law is already suspicious. I do not know how to account to her.
Why are you asking me about this? Can't you figure out a way yourself?
Excellent. That was exactly the line I was waiting for. I have indeed thought of a way. But I am worried that if the truth comes to light in the future and the Princess Dowager is enraged, I will not be able to bear the blame. Xiao Heng had a look that suggested he understood, yet didn't quite understand.
What exactly are you trying to say?
I ask that Your Highness leave your personal seal on this document to prove that my actions are entirely authorized by Your Highness.
After all that talk, it turns out you're just afraid of taking the blame. Fine, seeing as you are indeed sensible. I agree.
With that, he pulled out his personal seal, which he never let leave his side, and stamped it. Without even looking, he threw the agreement to me. He turned and walked out of the manor. I picked up the agreement from the floor and dusted it off. My get-out-of-jail-free card was finally in my hands. This is how we sensible women operate. Even when looking for another man, we need a proper justification to ensure there are absolutely no moral liabilities. That very night, I went to the most famous male brothel, Nanfeng Pavilion. I looked through the selection, but none of them pleased me. Madam, I prefer lighter fare. If it is too greasy, I won't be able to digest it. The madam froze for a moment but quickly caught on.
I understand. A new batch just arrived in the back courtyard, all natural, guaranteed not to be greasy. This way, distinguished guest.
Just as I was about to follow the madam to the back courtyard, I saw a young man lying on the ground, barely breathing. Even though he was covered in wounds, it couldn't hide his fine physique with long legs and a narrow waist. I lifted my skirt and was about to walk past him when suddenly his bony hand grabbed my ankle. He slowly looked up, revealing a pair of beautiful, almond-shaped eyes.
Save me, beautiful sister.
The moonlight fell upon his sorrowful eyes, adding a touch of dreamlike fragility. My heart suddenly felt a strange tug, a soft, tingling sensation. Subconsciously, I spoke up. How much for him? After some bargaining, I bought him for a dirt-cheap price of 2 taels of silver. I rented a small courtyard for him and hired a doctor. The doctor said his injuries went deep to the bone, and only a 1,000-year-old wild ginseng could save his life. I looked at my dwindling personal savings, and without a second thought, returned to the prince's manor. I ransacked the place for every valuable medicinal herb I could find. Anyway, it wasn't my money. We sensible women certainly know how to be thrifty. I busied myself brewing and feeding him his medicine. The young man was like a newly rescued puppy, staring at me without blinking once, his eyes bright and watery.
Sister, you're staying out so late for my sake. Won't brother-in-law be angry?
He pitifully hooked his finger around mine.
But I'm afraid that if you leave, you won't come back.
How could a sensible woman like me resist this? I immediately denied it, completely out of control. There is no brother-in-law. I'm single.
Really? That is wonderful. That means you belong to me alone, sister.
He tilted his head up and gently nuzzled his cheek against my palm. Recover well. I'll come see you again tomorrow. Without waiting for his response, I clutched my racing heart and quickly fled. For the next half-month, I kept finding excuses to slip out of the manor to care for him. I also learned that his name was Rong Xun. He originally came from a merchant family, but his older brother, fearing he would fight for the inheritance, poisoned him and sold him to the Nanfeng pavilion. I offered to help him find his family, but he shook his head and refused.
No need. No need. My family has a keen sense of smell. They will sniff their way to my door on their own.
I felt like there was something off about those words, but I didn't have the time to look into it. Because of my frequent outings, my mother-in-law's suspicions had already been aroused.
I hear you've been going out every day lately. What have you been doing?
I have just taken over the manor's businesses, so I went out to familiarize myself with the shops.
Those shops have managers to look after them. Your urgent priority is to bear an heir for the prince.
Just like that, I was grounded by my mother-in-law for several days. It wasn't until yesterday, when she went out to attend a banquet, that I managed to slip out. But when I arrived, I found the small courtyard in ruins. Both the person and the money were gone. My heart ached, and the landlord refused to refund the remaining rent. My heart ached even more. By the time I snapped out of it, I had settled down in a Taoist temple. It was said that this temple was highly effective for those praying for children. As long as one stayed for 10 days to half a month, they would surely conceive. But for some reason, after dinner, I began to feel inexplicably hot and weak all over. In my dazed state, I actually saw a door open in the wall. A masked, burly man walked out from inside, reeking of alcohol and meat. Is anyone there? Help.
Don't struggle, little lady. No one is coming to save you.
Who says so? You. Which hand touched her?
The burly man's eyes instantly went wide, and he shrank back. He shoved me away. Caught off guard, I fell toward the sharp corner of the table. I instinctively closed my eyes. However, the expected pain never came. A pair of strong arms suddenly wrapped around my waist. Before I could even open my eyes, I heard Rong Xun's voice whispering in my ear.
Sister, don't open your eyes.
Obediently, I kept my eyes closed. After a clash of swords, I heard the sound of a heavy object thudding to the ground. The metallic scent of rust filled the air. It was blood. I opened my eyes in a panic, only to find that the burly man was gone. Rong Xun, however, was covered in bloodstains. He collapsed toward me, teetering on his feet. Unable to support his weight, I fell onto the daybed with him. Rong Xun, hang in there. I'll go fetch a doctor right away. Just as I was about to get up, he grabbed my wrist tightly.
You're lying, sister. If you leave, you won't come back.
He looked up, pleading pitifully. I'll be very good. Please don't abandon me, sister. I was instantly filled with exasperation. I abandon you? Didn't you run off with the money? He looked completely aggrieved.
You never came to see me, sister. So I had to go out and look for you. Otherwise, how would I have known you were here?
I was too worried about his injuries to notice the loophole in his words. Forget it, we'll talk about this later. Let me find some medicine to dress your wounds first. I left the room, but I didn't know that after I left, several men in black instantly dropped from the rafters and knelt before Rong Xun in unison.
Master, this temple is corrupt. Please withdraw as soon as possible, Master.
If you know it is corrupt, why haven't you cleaned it up yet?
Yes, Master.
The secret guards opened a hidden passage and dragged out the burly man, along with a group of fake Taoist nuns kneeling and begging for mercy.
It has nothing to do with us. The bandits forced us to deceive those women. Please spare our lives, my lord.
Rong Xun looked down at them, a cruel smile playing on his lips.
I'm afraid you're begging the wrong person because I am no saint either.
The secret guards drew their swords in an instant. A cold gleam flashed. The begging stopped abruptly. The shadows on the wall kneeling for mercy all collapsed.
Clean it up. Leave no trace.
By the time I returned to the room with the medicine, Rong Xun had already fallen asleep. Left with no choice, I had to do it myself. I pulled open his robe to check his injuries, but no matter how hard I looked, I couldn't find a single scratch on him. Perplexed, I was about to pull my hand back when Rong Xun suddenly grabbed it, pressing it firmly against his chest. Then, those beautiful almond eyes slowly opened, looking at me with a hint of a smile.
Sister, why did you stop? I am willing.
My face instantly flushed hot. Willing or not, I have no idea what you're talking about. I got up to leave, but he hugged me from behind in an instant.
Didn't you come to the brothel back then just to get a child, sister? Since you redeemed me, why do you reject me now?
I turned around. He was kneeling on the bed looking pitiful, gazing up at me.
Instead of burning incense here, why don't you consider me?
Since you know everything, then you should understand that all I want is a fleeting affair. Even if I give birth to your child in the future, the child can only call someone else father. Do you not mind that? He blinked twice, then suddenly smiled faintly and pulled me tightly into his arms.
I only believe in making things happen. Who can say for sure what will happen in the future?
He looked up, pleading with a hint of playfulness.
Right now, I only want you to dote on me more, sister.
The candle burned for the entire night, refusing to go out for a long time. When I woke up again, the sun was already high in the sky, rubbing my aching waist. A saying suddenly popped into my head. The more beautiful something is in this world, the more dangerous it is. For 3 whole days, I couldn't even step out of that room. When I was finally able to go out and get some sun, I realized that almost all the Taoist nuns in the temple had disappeared. Only 2 unfamiliar ones were left to serve tea and meals. Did something happen these past few days? Why are there no worshippers? And even the nuns are gone. The 2 young nuns kept their heads bowed low, shaking their heads repeatedly to indicate they didn't know. I felt puzzled in my heart. Thinking back to the burly bandits who appeared that night, I felt more and more that this temple was hiding something strange. I told Rong Xun about all of this, but he comforted me, not caring in the least.
Perhaps those Taoist nuns went on a pilgrimage.
Puzzled, I asked. Aren't those who go on pilgrimages usually monks?
Who cares? Come with me, I'll show you something fun.
The moonlight was like water as he pulled me to the wishing tree. It is so dark here. What on earth do you want to show me?
Believe it or not, I can make this tree burst into full bloom in the blink of an eye.
How is that possible? It is winter right now. As the words left my mouth, a brilliant red firework exploded at the top of the tree, blooming into clusters of red lotuses. It was so beautiful that it left me speechless. I stared up in a daze, while Rong Xun gazed at me without blinking.
So beautiful.
Yes, it is so beautiful.
I was talking about you, sister.
He moved in openly with his little guard. Seeing me, he was very surprised.
Why are you here?
It seemed he hadn't come for me. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief, but then I heard him start mocking me again.
This is a Taoist temple for seeking children. Did you come here still hoping that this prince would give you a child?
Why did your highness come here then? Could it be that your highness and your companion are also here to seek a child?
Mind your own business in any case. It is impossible for this prince to touch you. Put away your devious thoughts, and don't even think about coveting this prince again.
After saying that, he flicked his sleeves and left. I rolled my eyes at his retreating figure and turned around to find Rong Xun to cleanse my eyes. Strange, as soon as Xiao Hung arrived, Rong Xun vanished without a trace. When he returned to the room at night, he also seemed a bit distracted. Don't worry. Everything I do is out in the open. He won't cause trouble for you. We will carry on as we always do.
I wish he would come looking for trouble. I'm just worried I won't get a chance to kill him. Once he is dead, sister will belong to me alone.
I only thought he was talking big for the sake of his pride, so I didn't take it to heart. Who would have known that that very night, things would begin to turn unusual? In the dead of night, a few sharp bird cries suddenly came from outside the window. Rong Xun sat up abruptly and quietly got out of bed. Before leaving, he even specifically checked my breathing, finding that my breathing was steady, and even as if I were still fast asleep. Only then did he leave the room without making a single sound. After he left, I opened my eyes and followed far behind him. I wanted to see what secret he was keeping from me. Under the giant wishing tree, a woman in white stood quietly, her back tall and heroic. As soon as Rong Xun appeared, she ran forward excitedly and threw herself into Rong Xun's arms. The scene before me felt like history repeating itself, except this time, the protagonist was Rong Xun. Great, the little puppy I raised is actually keeping a canary behind my back. Just as I was about to rush over and beat this adulterous couple to death, the woman suddenly looked up. With the help of the moonlight, I saw her face clearly and gasped in shock. It was Xiao Hung's beloved little guard. She was actually a woman. So, Xiao Hung wasn't a cutsleeve. He was keeping himself pure for the woman he loved. And Rong Xun loves the exact same woman. Then, what about me? Why do I have to be defeated by the same woman twice? I walked back in a daze. To my surprise, before I had gone more than a few steps, I saw another Rong Xun. His sword was slitting a Taoist nun's throat, with two men in black standing beside him. Impossible. How could there be two Rong Xuns? Could all of this be my hallucination? I stepped back in disbelief, unexpectedly stepping on a dry branch. The sound made startled Rong Xun and the men in black. As they looked toward me, I was already running wildly, lifting my skirt. In my panic, I almost ran into someone. It was Xiao Hung. He looked very anxious, not even caring when I stepped on his feet twice.
It is you. Have you seen Shan?
Panting, I shook my head. No, but I saw a woman who looks very much like him. Xiao Hung immediately grabbed my shoulders in excitement.
That is Shan. Where is she?
So, she really is a woman.
Yes, she is a woman, but you must keep this a secret. Quick, tell me, where is she?
Someone is chasing me. If you promise to keep me safe, I'll tell you where she is. Without a second thought, Xiao Hung called his guards and ordered them to escort me down the mountain. Too much had happened tonight. I collapsed in the carriage, exhausted to the point of collapse, and closed my eyes. Between sleep and wakefulness, a familiar cold, crisp scent drifted into my nose. I opened my eyes, instantly alert. It was Rong Xun. With rimmed red eyes, he held my hand tightly, explaining anxiously.
Sister, the one you saw wasn't me.
I yanked my hand back, staring at him expressionlessly. Which one wasn't you? The one having a secret tryst under the tree? Or the one embarking on a killing spree?
You saw it all.
Yes, I saw it all. But whichever one it was, I cannot accept it. I stared at him, pronouncing my decision word by word. Rong Xun, let's end this here.
No, I won't allow it.
Samona come, catch the assassin. Catch the assassin. Samona come, catch the assassin. The sound of guards drawing swords immediately echoed outside the carriage. Rong Xun clearly hadn't expected me to be so resolute. His eyes suddenly reddened, and he gave me a deep look. Before leaping out of the carriage, I instantly collapsed against the backrest, completely drained of strength. It was over. After returning to the manor, I fell ill. I felt exhausted and listless all day, unable to summon energy for anything. The manor physician took my pulse over and over again, but couldn't find the cause. This went on for nearly a month.
Useless thing.
My mother-in-law finally lost her patience. She smashed her teacup in anger.
Divorce. They must divorce.
But the marriage had been bestowed by His Majesty. Without His Majesty's nod, no one could make the decision. So, as soon as Xiao Hung returned to the manor, my mother-in-law urged him to enter the palace to audience the emperor. However, though Xiao Hung had entered the palace in high spirits, he returned looking like a withered eggplant.
How did it go? What did His Majesty say?
His Majesty said, "The envoys from the state of Liang are entering the capital for peace talks, and all vassal kings must bring their princesses to the palace banquet."
Hearing this, my mother-in-law could only wave her hand.
Then we will wait until after the palace banquet to discuss the divorce. In any case, the Xiao family lineage must not be broken.
Xiao Hung's eyes darted around guiltily.
What if the woman I love on the outside gives birth to a child? If the woman I love outside gives birth to an heir, wouldn't that also be of the Xiao family bloodline?
No, the future head of the Xiao family must be of legitimate birth.
If that is the case, then I won't divorce. Keep the princess. In the future, I will adopt the child under her name.
Outside the door, the little guard eavesdropped, her face turning deathly pale. As soon as Xiao Hung came out, the little guard's eyes welled with aggrieved tears, and she turned and ran off in a huff. Xiao Hung hurriedly gave chase.
Shan.
You want to give our child to someone else?
It is not what you think, it is only in name.
I still don't agree. How can our child call someone else mother?
What if it is not a person, but a cold memorial tablet?
Surely you've heard, the princess is dying.
The two of them walked away, whispering intimately, unaware that behind the pillar I was also hiding. Dying? A cold sneer played on my lips. I'm sorry, but that was just a play I bribed the manor physician to stage. I lowered my head, my hand caressing my lower abdomen. Everything was to pave the way for the arrival of this little one in my belly. I had never forgotten what my goal was. Since I couldn't get a man's love, then I would take his money and power. The future head of the prince's manor. I'm sorry, but that will be mine. On the day of the palace banquet, Xiao Hung knocked on my door impatiently.
Why are you so slow? We're going to be late for the banquet.
The door opened, and dressed in my finest attire, I stepped out of the room. Xiao Hang froze instantly, a flash of stunned admiration in his eyes. The little guard standing beside him saw him dazed and pinched him in anger. Only then did Xiao Hang quickly put on a stern face to save face.
Why are you dressed like this? Anyone who didn't know would think you're getting married.
My face is pale, so wearing red brings out a bit of color. The little guard stared at me with a face full of jealousy and hatred.
If your color is bad, you can cover it with rouge. Dressing like this, who does the princess plan to seduce at the palace banquet?
She seemed to imply something else, but I only found her hostility baffling. I simply reached out my slender hand and slapped her to wake her up. What is your status to dare question me, the princess? Are you a servant or a bedchamber maid?
I.
She was just making a suggestion. How dare you strike her?
A wife's attire represents her husband's face. She questions me, does she want the prince to lose face at the palace banquet? Xiao Hung was choked by my retort, speechless.
How did you become like this? You weren't like this before.
I wasn't like this before because I hadn't secured my footing yet, of course, you idiot. I, Shen Ruonan, have never been some delicate, helpless lady. At the palace banquet, my appearance immediately caught the emperor's attention.
Heir, is this your newly wedded princess? She is indeed elegant and refined. No wonder you begged us to bestow this marriage back then.
Hearing the praise, a hint of pride as a husband actually appeared on Xiao Hung's face. Uncharacteristically, he took the initiative to hold my hand as we paid our respects to the emperor together.
Thank you, Imperial Uncle, for bestowing this marriage and bringing about such a wonderful union.
I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Oh, Xiao Hung, have you forgotten that just yesterday you were discussing with your mother how to divorce me? Are you suffering from senile dementia at such a young age?
The Crown Prince of Liang and his delegation have arrived.
A group of envoys escorted a richly dressed young man into the grand hall. I turned to glance at him and was instantly frozen in shock. Rong Xun? From the moment Rong Xun entered, His gaze was locked onto me. As our eyes met, everything around us seemed to vanish instantly into absolute silence. Only the two of us, staring at each other, remained in the world. But Rong Xun quickly averted his gaze, his expression cold and indifferent, as if he had never known me before. The palace banquet began. I sat at the banquet table beside Xiao Heng, listening to the exchange between Rong Xun and the emperor.
Currently, the world is in chaos, with rival warlords carving up the land. The state of Liang has come this time, with the goal of seeking common ground. Liang is willing to form an alliance with Great Wei to combine our forces, march north, and jointly crusade against the state of Yan.
Today's banquet is only to foster friendship, not to discuss state affairs. We shall make our own decision regarding the alliance in the days to come. Play the music, bring on the dancers.
As the dancers took the stage, the strong scent of cosmetics assailed my nose. My stomach instantly churned, and I almost threw up. I quickly used the excuse of using the restroom to go outside for some fresh air, but unexpectedly ran into a scene I shouldn't have witnessed. The little guard was tearfully tugging at Rong Xun, who shook her off with a look of utter impatience. He turned and saw me, and his eyes instantly lit up.
Sister.
How unlucky. Without a word, I turned on my heel to leave. Rong Xun caught up to me in just a few strides and grabbed my wrist.
Sister.
I shook off his hand. Please conduct yourself with dignity, Your Highness. Rong Xun wore a deeply hurt expression.
Sister, do you intend for us to be strangers from now on?
Didn't you pretend not to know me first? Who are you playing the victim for now? With that, I turned and walked away. Rong Xun stood there in a daze, lost in thought. But to my surprise, the moment I stepped back into the grand hall, I saw another Rong Xun sitting at the banquet, still wearing that expression of not knowing me at all. Could there really be two Rong Xuns in this world? I stared at the Rong Xun at the banquet, sizing him up, which aroused Xiao Heng's displeasure.
Is he that good-looking? You're staring so intently. Don't forget your identity as the Princess of Jing.
He is just average. He is not as interesting as the little guard by your side, my lord, who can be both male and female.
I've only just realized that you have such a fierce temperament, princess. It seems this prince misjudged you before.
A flicker of excitement like discovering new prey flashed in his eyes, and he even raised his hand to touch my face.
This must be Prince Jing, Xiao Heng, yes. I have heard of your great name for a long time.
Rong Xun suddenly appeared holding a wine cup, interrupting Xiao Heng's movement. Xiao Heng immediately stood up to return the toast.
I feel an instant connection with Prince Jing. Why don't we share a table and have a good chat?
After saying this, he looked at me with a deep, unreadable gaze.
I wonder if the Princess of Jing could make some space for me.
I met his gaze. For some inexplicable reason, I felt that the Rong Xun before me was not the same one from earlier. Just now, I was too busy bickering with Xiao Heng to notice how they had switched places. But right now, I had absolutely no reason to refuse other than to agree. I nudged myself toward the empty space beside me. Just as Xiao Heng was about to sit over, Rong Xun beat him to it and sat right in the middle.
Brother Xiao, let's drink.
Xiao Heng was puzzled but also flattered. The Grand Crown Prince of Liang was actually calling him Brother Xiao. What an immense honor. Xiao Heng immediately forgot his minor displeasure and began drinking heartily with Rong Xun. But what he didn't know was that the Crown Prince of Liang, who was acting so brotherly with him, had his other hand under the table, tightly gripping his wife's wrist with an undeniable sense of possessiveness. After several rounds of drinks, Xiao Heng was completely drunk, mumbling as he collapsed onto the table. Rong Xun leaned in and loudly exclaimed, pretending to have understood him.
What, Brother Xiao? You want to invite me to stay at your prince's estate. Would this be convenient?
After speaking, he didn't forget to glance at the emperor. The emperor was just worrying about how to accommodate the Liang delegation.
Accommodate the Liang delegation at the Prince of Jing's estate. This is a matter of great importance concerning our diplomatic relations. Everyone in the Prince Jing mansion must do their utmost to entertain them well.
I stood up and accepted the imperial decree on behalf of Xiao Heng, who was dead drunk. Turning around, I saw the corner of Rong Xun's mouth curve up slightly, like a fox that had gotten its way. Back at the manor, after finally getting the Liang envoys settled in, it was already the middle of the night. Only then did I remember I had important business to attend to. I went to Xiao Heng's room. Just as I was about to undo his robe, the door was suddenly pushed open. Rong Xun shielded me, like a gust of wind.
Sister, I waited for you in your room for half the night. I didn't expect you to actually be here.
I am the Princess Jing. What is wrong with me being in Prince Jing's room?
Of course it is wrong because you are mine.
He suddenly picked me up and walked outside. I beat him desperately. Put me down tonight. I must be here. What do you mean? Put me down first and then I'll tell you why. Because the child in my belly must have a father. Rong Xun was startled for a moment and then showed wild joy.
I'm going to be a father.
This child's father can only be Xiaoheng. Rong Xun's face immediately darkened, and he drew his sword at once.
Then I will kill Xiaoheng right now.
Are you crazy? If you kill him, how can Liang and Wei form an alliance? Rong Xun sneered.
We never intended to actually form an alliance anyway.
What do you mean?
Don't ask. The less you know about this, the safer you are. Otherwise, my psycho brother will definitely do you harm.
Afterwards, he explained the previous misunderstanding to me. Only then did I learn that they were twins. And to the outside world, they both shared the identity of Crown Prince Rong Xun, because twins were considered an ill omen. After the Empress gave birth back then, she secretly hid one away and raised him in private. Thus, the two brothers, one in the light and one in the dark, took turns on duty, having agreed to rule the country together in the future, until they had a disagreement over matters regarding the state of Wei, got into a fight, and Rong Xun was thrown into Nanfeng brothel and locked up.
Remember, next time you see my brother, stay far away from him. He is a psycho, even more ruthless than me.
So, the one who killed someone last time was your brother, then you.
That Shan is my brother's person. I originally wanted to pretend to be my brother to get some information from her. Who knew she would pounce on me the moment we met and take advantage of me?
He had a wronged look on his face, but a storm was brewing in my heart. The little guard was the Liang Crown Prince's person. She is lurking in the Prince of Jing's manor. Could there be an even bigger conspiracy behind this? While I was lost in thought, Rong Xun suddenly pulled me into his arms.
Sister, now that the misunderstanding has been cleared up, can you stop being angry with me?
I can, but you have to tell me what exactly you two are plotting. I cannot tell you this. I sneered in my heart. See, men are just like this. They say they love you, but when it touches their core interests, they are more vigilant than anyone. Then get lost, don't disturb me and my husband. With that, I was about to take off my shoes and get into bed. Rong Xun let out a frustrated laugh at my words, and with a sudden burst of strength, he dragged Xiaoheng off the bed, holding me as he lay down on it himself. What madness are you driving?
Shh, lower your voice, sister. You wouldn't want brother-in-law to see us being intimate, would you?
The bed curtains fell, blocking my angry curses. The next day, when Xiaoheng woke up, he saw me sitting by the bed putting on my clothes.
Last night, we...
It is exactly what you see. Xiaoheng was not as resistant as I imagined, and even seemed to want more, trying to pull my hand.
Since you and I are already husband and wife. From now on, as long as you don't cause trouble for Shan, I will also cherish you.
No need, last night was just an accident. I interrupted him mercilessly. From now on, I will keep my promise and not disturb the sweet moments between your highness and your beloved. After saying that, I got up and left. As soon as I went out, I arranged for spies to observe the little guard's every move. Sure enough, after hearing that Xiaoheng and I had consummated our marriage, she first ran to Xiaoheng, crying and throwing a tantrum, and then ran out of the manor, pretending to be heartbroken. Once outside, she quickly put on a calm expression and hired a carriage to head straight toward the Taoist temple. When the spy returned to report this, I was directing the servants to clean all the rooms. A moment later, I entered the palace holding a small box. I didn't return until dark. The housekeeper reported to me that Xiaoheng had gone out of the mansion to look for someone and has not returned yet. He asked if we should send more people to look for him. I waved my hand and said there was no need, and told him to prepare a table of good food and wine and bring it to my room. As soon as I walked in, someone hugged me around the waist from behind.
Sister, where have you been? I've been looking for you all day.
I was taking care of some business. Have you eaten yet? If not, sit down and eat with me. Rong Xun nodded and sat down. With this first cup of wine, I thank you for giving me a beautiful memory. He was quite surprised.
Sister, have you finally figured out who loves you the most?
With this second cup of wine, I thank you for giving me a child. giving me confidence from now on.
Sister, you seem a bit off. Did something happen?
I didn't say anything and offered a third cup of wine. With this third cup of wine, Rong Xun, I am sorry. As soon as the words fell, a loud explosion suddenly erupted from the south of the city. Rong Xun finally realized something was wrong and instinctively ran outside. It is too late. His Majesty has already sent troops to surround the Taoist temple.
What on earth did you do? Are you trying to get my brother killed?
And what did you two do? Beautiful fireworks buried underground, spreading all over the capital along the secret passage of the Taoist temple. Were you planning to blow me and the child up into the sky as well?
I would have definitely taken you away before we acted.
But I am unwilling. I am a citizen of Wei. I will not watch the people of Wei suffer and die. If you want to seize the empire, do it fair and square. What kind of skill is relying on conspiracies and schemes? Rong Xun lowered his head.
I tried to stop him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have thrown me into the Newfound brothel. But no matter what, he is my brother. I cannot sit by and do nothing.
If you take one step out of this door, we shall never meet again. Rong Xun, the empire or me, which do you choose? His departure was within my expectations. I never believed that a man would give up everything for a woman. Just as I, too, would risk everything for my own interests. That night, Xiao Heng did not return to the manor. The next day, news came that he had been thrown into prison. My mother-in-law was pacing around in a panic. She pointed at my nose, demanding that I contact my father and brothers to risk everything to save Xiao Heng. Instead, I pulled out a divorce agreement and threw it in her face. None of my business. I'm not being this princess consort anymore.
Don't you dare think about shirk your responsibility in leaving. This marriage was bestowed by His Majesty. Besides, what good does it do you to become an abandoned wife?
Oh, there are plenty of benefits. Come on in.
By heaven's mandate, the Emperor decrees. Prince Jing, Xiao Heng, is stripped of his title, demoted to a commoner, and exiled to the border. The princess consort, Lady Shen, is bestowed the title of Commandery Princess Pinning, granted fiefs and tax revenues, and the original Prince Jing's manor shall belong to her.
My mother-in-law was dumbfounded on the spot and fainted onto the ground. I ordered her to be packed up and thrown to the Taoist temple, just as she had abandoned me alone back then. The plaque of Prince Jing's manor was taken down and replaced with Commandery Princess Pinging's manor. From then on, I was the sole master here, with money and power. No husband. It was simply a heavenly life. Until the ruler of Liang sent a peace proposal, seeking a marriage alliance with Wei.
The princesses under our knee have already been married off. In the imperial palace, there is only you, the newly titled Commandery Princess. We summoned you to the palace today just to ask for your thoughts.
I'm fine with it, but is he willing?
I am willing.
I turned around, and Rong Xun actually walked out from behind the screen wearing a red bridal veil. I deliberately kept a straight face. Didn't I say that if you stepped out of that door, we shouldn't meet again? Rong Xun held onto me with a look of grievance.
But sister, I left through the window.
In the end, I still accepted him as my new husband. There was nothing I could do. Who told him to be so clingy?